What is up, ladies and gentlemen? How's it going? Um, right now, I'm going to go ahead and talk about something that is going to be, even though I'm just doing this single-handedly, I'm just going to report on this because this is something that happened last week. A lot of people were surprised and shocked about this because no one ever heard of the Universal Fan Con. Now, this is what happened. What happened was they made a convention and they had to postpone it and cancel it and then of course had the audacity to blame their own customers for it. And this is the most ridiculous situation that ever happened because they started out as a Kickstarter. Now it was a crowdfunding project that happened. It was called Universal Fan Con. As you can see, it had made about 50,000. Wow, that was their starting goal was 25,000. Now you can see right here that their goal was to invite a really big fan base of people that were diverse. Now the thing was they had people like Lamar Morris. You know, they even had celebrities like Billy D. Williams. They claimed that they were going to have Billy D. Williams in this whole thing. And I understood that they were creating this convention. Instead, you know, they booked a convention at the Baltimore Center. And the strange part was, I think it was like the Boston Center, which they thought would be a great idea, which they hoped would be fun. Now, the people who are running this, you may know her from the creator of Black Nerd Girls, which is, let me see if I can find the website, because I know Black Nerd Girls is like the IGN of BET mixed together. That's pretty much what it looks like. Let me see if I can find it, because I remember going into the website and seeing this. Now, Black Nerd Girls, you know, the creator of Black Nerd Girls made this convention in order to, you know, bring diversity into the convention to promote it. Now, it turned into a situation where they probably lacked experience in what they were doing, and they were hoping to take the reins of leadership forward with this convention. Now, I don't really think it was a bad idea, but at the same time, you know, they weren't very, you know, because considering that they spent, let's see how much did they spend on this convention, because I'm looking right now, seeing how this convention is, because they spent a lot of money. They spent about, holy shit, they spent this amount, and they were going to hope that this would happen. They set up the convention, and then all hell broke loose when they decided to cancel it. Now, this was something of a diverse, because they said that the first multi-fandom dedicated to inclusive, highlighting women, LGBTQ, disabled, and persons of color. Now, this is what happened. It turned into a bad situation. Even by this fact that there were people that were hoping for this convention to happen. They didn't make that much, you can tell, because they had like 1,000, they had like 1,178 backers, and they made about, let's say, and they made and people were claiming that they made $200 something. It's like, look at the number right here. They didn't make that much. And I feel bad that this happened, but unfortunately, you know, looking at this situation created by Black Nerd Girls, who are, the website itself, you know, is a big surprise here. because they actually have a really nice website, I gotta say. Now, let's look at the statement from Jamie Broadnax, who made the convention, and her statement here is about the whole situation with FanCon. I'm Jeannie Broadnax, if I pronounce her name right, the founder of Black Nerd Girls, member of Universal FanCon. Friday, on April 20th, I provided a preliminary statement to the individuals that supported Universal FanCon on Kickstarter in 2016. What followed was the day of question, just about anger, frustration. However, this was a lack of transparency and clarity. I feel that I am imperative to provide comprehensive updates to the Universal FanCon community as our internal team works towards a solution. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for your trust. Thank you for believing in the mission of Universal FanCon. What I have written below is not a series of excuses, but a full acknowledgement of my responsibilities. Postponed of Universal FanCon. Surrounding context. Universal FanCon was an idea born as a collective. We as fans and geeks of the online community with our respective brands decided to launch the idea of a convention for fans from marginalized communities to have a safe space to celebrate their fandoms. I was brought on director of the community outreach for a FanCon organization. My role was to spread the word and public-facing liaison for the organization. I let my black girl nerds invest in the social capital into a mix of following a large network of nerds and geeks to be exposed to the new event. I also leverage my relationship with brands, studios, and celebrities to get my on-bound co-signing of the fan convention. Since the Kickstarter in 2016, which raised a significant amount of funds, I was honored and proud that so many in the community rallied to support the Universal FanCon and were just as excited as I was about the event. People were sending tweets. People were sending my tweets and messages saying they have never been to the con, but they will definitely be coming to Universal FanCon. I spent a great deal of my expressing to the public how much this con means to me. I traveled across the country, participated on panels, hosted screenings, coordinated meetups, wore my geek flag proudly as a director of the community outreach. As I was working to spread the mission of Universal FanCon, I did not involve myself with financial and legal matters. To be frank, I didn't know what was going on, what was coming, nor what has been going on. I didn't sign any contracts, and in hindsight, I realized that this should have been the major priority. However, I acknowledge that the hindsight does not remedy the aftermath of April 3rd. A bomb was dropped on me and our finances. I was shocked that the outstanding bills that were not paid and the likelihood of FanCon would be no longer. I help oversee our affiliates team, our team of bloggers, vloggers, podcasters, etc., who are cheerleaders that have helped spread the word of Universal FanCon. We discussed having an emergency GoFundMe. Even I created a video as a last ditch effort. As I reluctant and went like how it would like. Oh God, this is sad. How it would look that if I was being asked to be face of the video, but I went with it anyway. However, I guess I was positioned as the leader and the representative of the fandom community, and I recorded the video about our need for funds. After we had our meeting with affiliates, most agreed to GoFundMe would be a good idea. I had a secondary meeting with FanCon board. We decided rather than putting onerous Sorry if I can't pronounce it. Excuse me for a moment. I know some fans asking for money, which we already did during the Kickstarter. I agreed that we should try to find ways to scale down the size of the space and try to defray the cost. I also worked with the sponsors and the last minute to help us out to provide a generous donation that I thought would have us in a better position. 48 hours, I found out we owed more money. That was no way to run the con with the debt that was owed. I called the team myself, requested an emergency board meeting to discuss what we need to do and what went wrong. As it turns out, there was a balloon budget that would make it impossible to run a convention by Friday, April 22nd. I was sick to my stomach, devastated, and I'm in shock by all this because at the time I thought FanCon was okay. I had a press coverage meeting with my team a few days before. I was prepping my schedule as to what we planned to cover at the event. I was completely blindsided by the news. Frankly, still don't understand what happened. I owed more due diligence to the community. I do not know what was happening behind the scenes. In terms of contracts and finances, I made an assumption that I thought was okay. And that's how you run a business. I put my faith into others who were subject matter experts in various areas, assuming that everything was well-oiled machine. I put my personal name, brand Black Nerd Girls, on Universal FanCon. Many marginalized groups get opportunity to perform where they can see themselves reflecting and feel represented. All of you trusted me. I'm certain many of you decided to purchase your ticket and or financial support of the event because of me. I understand completely that I have let you down. I have started meetups at Dragon Con, San Diego Comic-Con, New York Comic-Con, opened up a community to participate, communities that have built a rapport with for years on online communities, helped it build, were part of this mission. In no way, in shape or form, I would never want to jeopardize what I have spent years building and creating and compromising many nights over sleepover just to cash in a few bucks. I worked for Universal Con as a volunteer, and I was never paid, but was promised parts of the profit. My statement, a recollection of events, acknowledge the responsibility, will unfortunately do nothing for those who have requested time off, put their lives in jeopardy, spent money on travel, lodging, registration, and more. I am personally devastated to have broken the trust of my community. I know that only time can consider resolution to regain trust. I'm prepared to work towards that and honor the truth. Black Nerd Girls encourage civil, engaging conversations. We reserve the right to remove comments, ban users who engage in disrespectful behavior to writers as well as the B&G community. This is the girl who was the founder of the Universal FanCon. Now, you can see right now, she definitely, in this moment, she got fucked. And I feel bad for her too, because even LeVar Burton, of all people, said in early support, I'm extremely distressed and disappointed by the shit show at the hashtag Universal FanCon has become. Thank God for WicoCom, which they actually reserved a convention here. We've secured a massive space for all the pop-up con Saturday the 4th or the 20th, located in the WicoCom building. about a mile from the convention center. We dubbed it, this is funny, and this is dated back in April 2018. April 21st. And this became a shit show. No one heard about the Universal Fan Con. We dubbed it and then are opening the doors, and vendors negatively affected by the FanCon fiasco spread the word. Now, Black Heroes Matter is the people I remembered, I think I promoted, because they did a Kickstarter. They were trying to do a convention, and they were asking for money for this convention. And I think I remembered this convention a while back. I wish them the best of their abilities to make the convention. I hope you guys do better. Because at least you're trying to promote, at least you're trying to work your way to promote diverse superheroes. I'm not here to, you know, to judge or anything like that. I wish you guys the best. As far as I know, you know, Lamar Burton endorsed you, so yeah, I'll endorse you. Yeah, because I still like, I still do follow Lamar Burton, even though, you know, I don't hate him. I don't, you know, I understand where he's coming from. He's a good guy. He works his way into education for a long time. You know, he was advocating for a lot of things in education. I remembered him talking about smoking and everything in Hollywood and how it was promoted. He explained a pretty good amount of things that were reasonable. So, as far as I know, you know, Lamar Burton, of all people, he's a good guy. He's a very serious person who worked his way into the situation. It's like they're making a meme of him. We'll see you next time. Fortunately, it was successful, maybe. We'll see you next time. Yeah, and the Nerds of Color kind of did that, you know. And I thought it was kind of funny, though. And the whole situation with Universal Fan Con was a disaster in itself, because they were doomed to fail either way by their mistake. And I can tell you this right now. The only difference between that convention was that the fact that I would hate to say this, but Kilroy at least had guests, at least had like 1,000 people. This one only had about 1,500 people that bought the convention, but only sold like 100 something tickets, but people funded it. There was like 1,000 people from last year. They're saying that only 100 something bought the tickets, while 100 something donated money to this. 1,000 people donated to this. The story doesn't add up in this case. Then they asked for a crowdfunding project, and that was kind of weird too, because she even mentioned this in the story, and it's like you guys don't, your story doesn't add up here. Black Nerd Girls, no, seriously, it doesn't make any sense. Reading the statement from you, because you said, because according to sources, they said, and I don't know how this story went out around, because you made a Kickstarter. That Kickstarter had 1,000 something people who donated money to your cause, and you did a crowdfunding for a GoFundMe. And I personally, you know, this situation kind of hit the it just hit hard looking at this, because looking at the story and everything that happened, you know, especially with Universal Fan Con, because this was by Black Nerd Girls, who wanted to make this to be promoting inclusivity and diversity in conventions. Now, this is a sad story, because they basically made a lot of money out of and according to this is not 800 people, that, because The count, more than 800 people received tickets by backing the funding effect. But there was like 1,000 people, according to the Kickstarter. 1,000 something people when I showed you guys this. Let me show you. $1,187 people backed this convention. And they probably people donated, like, let's see, 275 people donated $10 to this. Let's see, 368 people paid $35. $75, 126 people. They basically, a 2-week pass of Universal Con. Pledge $100 or more, you get 3 weekend pass to Universal Fan Con, which 50 people paid for the 3-day weekend. $200 or more. They 13 backers paid for this. 13. $500. Man, these people, like, 6 people donated $1,000 to this. No joke, they did. Pledged $500,000. One backer, one person donated. Damn. Damn. I feel bad for these people. They donated $5,000 to this shit, man. I cannot believe. One person donated $5,000 to this shit show, man. There's something hilariously funny about this. I would pay $350 for this shit. I cannot believe this shit. This is so hilarious. Someone donated $5,000 to this shit, man. One person donated $5,000. $5,000 to this thing. Like, seriously, who would be donating up to? And then someone donated, like, 6 backers donated $1,000 to this. No joke. Someone donated $1,000 for a 2-weekend pass to Universal Fan Con. How stupid can you be for a 3-day weekend? $1,000. You gotta be kidding me. You gotta be shitting on. A 2-day weekend pass. 2-day weekend pass. 2 weekend passes to Universal Fan Con. Two weekend passes. 3 weekend passes. This is sad. This is kind of sad. You donated this much money to this convention, and this was back in 2016. And now, think about it for a moment. They could get this. They could get this convention running, and it turned into a shit show. I'm sorry. This is pretty bad. Looking at the situation, this is pretty bad for them. Looking at this, I gotta say, this is the most. I know that most people are not going to watch this. This is pretty much the show that's not going to get popular. But this is a sad story of of the founder of Black Nerd Girls, who made a convention, who tried to attempt to make a convention, canceled the convention due to the fact that, well, it turned into a shit show, blaming it on the people who bought tickets to the convention. They tried to spread the word, but unfortunately, there wasn't much marketing for this convention. They thought that one of their allies would write an article about the convention. They tried their best to get, celebrities on board on this. They had Billy D. Williams. They had LeVar Burton in this, and it's sort of a bad situation with a lot of the people who made this convention. That they admit wrongdoing and their own responsibility. At least they admit that they messed up and didn't realize that that the cost of the convention, and they could have scouted out like areas to go buy a cheaper area to buy a convention at, because they didn't realize that this would cost them a lot of money in the long run, not knowing what to expect because they never really been to a convention. The legal cost, and also the budget, also the fact that they had to pay for insurance for damages and such, just in case if people get injured, or they have to hire security, all this other stuff, that even providing food for if they want a catering team to go down there and sell stuff. A lot of hotels do that too, because even the renting the space for hours on end, it would cost a lot of money too, because the cost of having a convention for, like, I don't know, renting a space and also renting the rooms and everything for the convention, like panels and such, it costs a lot of money. And if they would have started small, like most conventions, because I remember people telling me about this when I volunteered for a convention down in San Antonio. I think I remember this convention. It was called not Iki. I think it was IkiCon or something like that. They had rented a space by it was like a small little space. It wasn't like a huge space, but they had vendors everywhere, and I remember volunteering for it, and it was like a really small space. They had a state. The thing was that it was in south of Austin, and I remember going to that convention one time volunteering. It was a small space. It wasn't like a huge space. It was like there was a stage. It was like one of those places where you could just go, there and just go to a rodeo or something. That was what it was made for. And what happened was, it was dirty as fuck too. But they managed to get a new location a few years later, because they started small. They didn't go big. They had a budget, a shoestring budget, and they managed to pull it off pretty well with that convention, because a lot of people enjoyed that convention, especially they had music, they had people coming to the convention. It was sort of a weird sort of thing. I don't hate the people at that convention, but they actually did try to provide fun. They provide an interesting experience. And of course, they moved to a new location after that, because it got so popular, because the fact they started small. It was a small convention, and they bought a small location that didn't cost that much for them. It probably cost about $15,000 for them, and they basically ran the convention responsibly. Unlike this situation, they didn't realize what they were doing. They thought, okay, so we're going to buy this big ass convention. We're hoping to get this much amount of space. And unfortunately, they didn't realize the cost of renting the space for that many days. They assumed, okay, so I need this amount of money. They could have realized that it would cost them a lot of money if they rented for 3 days. Now, they could have started out small, at least get 100 people to come to this convention in hopes that this convention would work out. But unfortunately, it didn't work out that well for them. They kind of, spent all the money not knowing what to do. They deposited $45,000 not knowing the cost of building a convention, the cost of hiring security, the cost of renting the space, and also renting other areas of the convention space. It costs a lot of money. They could have they should have been asking for more money. They should have been asking for at least $200,000 for this, because this convention would cost a lot, especially in the Baltimore area or Boston, because you have to understand, a lot of people at the time were going to Boston. I think they were going to the Boston PAX East, going to PAX East. It was sort of interesting to hear about the story, because most people were going to other conventions and spending a lot of money, and you did it at the time where a whole bunch of other conventions are happening in certain areas of the United States that are popular compared to this one, you know. And I feel bad for for Black Nerd Girls in a way, because they pretty much screwed themselves over, not knowing, even though they trusted a lot of people and advice, because they would talk about this, and it's like, this is something that's sort of sad, because they deposited money not realizing what to do, and the organizers declined to show Vulture's reporter Leela Shapiro any receipts or budgets, citing legal concerns. They claimed that the piece that the Officer Attorney General Brumfosh reached out about the consumer protection claims. Rachel Combs, the public information officer of Frost, would tell you, Baltimore Fishbowl, the offices does not confirm or deny the existence of investigation. So basically, this turned into another shit show for them, because they put in money for the convention, but not knowing who they put the money into. This was a sort of a sad situation. Organizers were hoping for 10,000 people, but only sold about 1,700 tickets in early April, according to the article, which is true though. As part of a rewarding crowdfunding campaign, it kicked off in 2016. Donors who gave $10 or more received at least one day pass for the weekend Universal Long Festival, and many rewarded options offered in the weekend passes. Per Kickstarter count, more than 800 people received tickets by backing the funding effort. The campaign received 50,000, more than doubled than the initial 25,000 goal. Now, the thing is, they could have went with a smaller location. If they knew that this was going to happen, they could have told everyone, look, this is what's going to happen. We're going to put... They could have updated everyone, telling everyone, look, we secured a location, but we're looking into other options. They could have went into a smaller location. It wouldn't cost them that much, and it wouldn't have been that way if they would have managed their money and thought about what we could easily, you know, make a lot of money off of this. Because I remember, like I said in the story that I talked about, I remember Volunteer for Convention, and they started out small. They had a small location in Texas. They rented this area in South Austin. It was sort of like one of those little places where you go to buy. Like it looked like a swap meet. It looked like a rodeo show was in there, and I remember going down there. And the funny thing was, it was sort of like one of those places you could rent to have a stage show, because they had like a cement stage show and everything, and it had its own little location, and it wasn't that bad of a location. But at the same time, you know, it was sort of like you can go down there, and it was like a flea market in a way, looking at that convention back then. And then they started to move to a new location, and it got the convention got popular after that when they moved to that new location, because what happened was there were some complaints about the convention. A lot of people didn't like the convention, and they basically moved to another area they got out of the city and moved to a new location, and that location happened to be Galveston, Texas. If I remember correctly, I don't know if that was the IckyCon, but they got popular after that. when they moved to that new location. Because they started out, like most conventions, they started out small. Like I heard that GemCon started out at a small location, which happened to be a basement. No joke, it was a basement. And then it became huge and it started to get popular. That's how funny it was. And it was endorsed and got popular because of that, and they decided to move the location to a newer place, which a lot of people liked it, enjoyed it, and had fond memories of that convention. The point is I'm making here is that you got to find a location. Hopefully that location would be the first test to hopefully get, to promote diversity and inclusion, which you hope to do. And then try to, and in hopes to making this happen, you should do this. Start out small. That is the advice that everyone should learn. But mistakes happen, and you know what? At least these people started out small in a location they felt comfortable with, because they chose a location that was small, that didn't try to they didn't try to overspend everything. They tried to do it in a way that they felt comfortable with. And I'm not going to try to hate on these people or anything like that. I wish you the best of luck with your convention. And I hope you learned your mistake from this, because this is something that is going to be interesting, because I feel bad for this lady, and I'm not because she pretty much learned her lesson. She pretty much had herself in a bad situation where she admits responsibility for her own mistakes, which is a good thing. Yeah, and as for LeVar Burton, I'm sorry, man. This turned into another shit show, so yeah, I do agree with you. Alright, the next thing I'm going to go ahead and talk about is this situation with Jawbreakers. A lot of people are talking about the Jawbreakers comic book. I know that there was some there was a lot of people talking about this Jawbreakers comic book in a negative light. Like most of the comic book stores, there's only a few of them. The majority of the comic book stores are upset with the creator of Jawbreakers because of the fact that it got funded, but at the same time, the guy who created it is known as Diversity Comics, but he's also known as Richard Meyer. Now, he started a YouTube channel during the time of Comic-Gate, and he kept bashing and criticizing comic books and the comic book writers to the point where he pretty much pissed off a lot of people. Now, I'm being honest about this because he did piss off a lot of creators and writers during that time, bashing them, especially Michelle Perez. Now, this is one of their creators, Michelle Perez, known for the book Pervert from Image Comics. Now, this is what she said about Meyer, and this is the creator, because he bashes the hell out of comic books, and this chick right here said some weird, crazy shit. Like, no joke. A lot of people felt that this chick was crazy. Finally, the time is I'm gonna say this, but I come from a Marine family, and my father was a Golden Gloves boxer, so no ego, I'm serious. I would snap the little cracker's neck like it was nothing. Sometimes you have to really get an idea of your opponent, and your opponent's wife, and your opponent's son, who always seems to be questioning his ideas of sex and gender. Sometimes, yeah, the chick is upset, saying some crazy stuff at the convention. Now, I don't think the SJW pros understand every time they attack diversity, they come to prove his point and make him popular. It's like when they cry about white supremacists being everywhere, it just gives them power to endemons them. And I have to repeat myself. No, I'm just going to point out something to all the people who hate this guy. The reason why he got popular is because you mentioned him. He got popular because you wanted to, because a lot of people, let's be honest with a lot of the people, that they don't honestly like you. They think you're crazy when you say stupid shit on the internet, and he got popular because of that. When you mention him in name, they're gonna go and view him, and then they're gonna realize, oh, this guy's pretty good. Because this guy makes some reasonable arguments. Reminder that this is the man Arctic Press decided to publish. My YouTube channel views were down. My Indiegogo was going middling success. Now the viewers are up, and Indiegogo spiked at 40,000 20. And this was at the time that this guy got popular, because this is what happened. Because when you say something this ridiculous in the situation, and accuse him of ridiculous conspiracy, and that was what happened. People are going to assume that if you don't have any evidence to prove it, he's just going to bash you in a video. He's just going to laugh at you at the video. That's what happened. And he got more popular because of that. This is something that you guys need to understand. You guys should have been more careful about this. Instead, you should have ignored him. You should have focused on your comic book stories. You should have done that. But instead, you guys went on the internet whining and bitching. That's what people saw. This is what people saw in you. This is what they're looking at. This is the crazy shit show that it became. It became the fact that the guy made a comic book. He believes in his work. He basically talks about his work. You should do the same. That's what he was doing. He was promoting his book at the expense of the fact that you guys were bitching about him. The more you bitch about him, the more he becomes popular. You could have done that, but instead you just didn't care. You just wanted to go after him. You wanted to say, oh, I want to punch him in the face. I want to hurt him. I want to do this to him. Now, I thought it was kind of funny, though. And this is what's going on right now, is that they're trying to publishing the names of the comic shop's employees and addresses, their workplaces, hostile audiences, overly aggressive act. More or less aggressive than a baseball bat to the teeth. Now, some people, I don't know, store killers. We're going to show you how comics done right stores. So we don't really want this. It's removing the choice of the customers in order a book through their store. Now, I'm just going to go ahead and do this. And say this. If you guys would have left it alone, if you guys wouldn't have talked about him or say anything about him, but instead you did, you could have ignored this situation, focusing on your comic books. You should have just focused on your own comic book story, your own ideas, and you could have done better. But instead, going after one guy one guy, because of your identity, you're giving him too much credit. You're giving him too much, fame for this, because you're feeding the monster called fame into him. You could have done, like, I ordered the comic book because, well, you know what? I'm a bit curious about him. I wonder how his story turns out for Jawbreakers, because I want to know if his book is any good. I paid my $25, and I wonder how good is his comic book, because a lot of people want to read a decent comic book, and he said he is working hard to make that comic book. And if you can you do the same as him? That's the question that you should ask yourself. Can you do better than him? And I'm pretty sure you can. And if you believe that you can do better than him, then you need to prove yourself to the community. You need to do something about this. If you feel that your story matters and what you're trying to put in a message in there, or whether that message spreads out there, would hope to do. You could do that. You could make your comic book. You could do what others can do. But instead, you bitch and moan and complain, and it makes you look like a stupid idiot out there to people. They're probably not going to buy your comic book because you're acting so negative about yourself. You're acting negative towards others. That's what people are seeing in you. You should, for all reasons, focus on the business at hand instead of one person. You have every chance to prove yourself to the comic book community that you could write a better story that could reach out to people. You want to do that. That's what you want to do. But instead, you bitch and moan and complain. That's the thing. That's the problem with you. Instead of going after this guy, you should have focused on your work. I know that you're upset. I know that you're mad. But this is the truth. You guys could have done something about it. But instead, prove him wrong. Because I'm just proving this analogy that I said before. You're Spider-Man. He's Jonah Jameson. And at the same time, spreading rumors about him, he's Spider-Man and you're Jonah Jameson. Do you get that analogy that I'm pointing out to you right now? Now, the thing is, I'm just pointing out to you guys, because in Spider-Man universe, Jonah Jameson is a publisher, aka journalist, and he always hated Spider-Man because he wears a mask. He didn't like what Spider-Man does, but Spider-Man knew what he was doing. He was trying to do the right thing, and Jonah Jameson kept publishing those little things about Spider-Man being the bad guy, being the worst person in the universe, being this worst person, spreading the lies about him. Until one day, Spider-Man had confronted Jonah Jameson, told him, "Look, I'm trying to do the right thing," and he did do the right thing. He tried to save Jonah Jameson one time, and Jonah Jameson realized, you know what? I like him, but at the same time, I don't like what he does. Because Spider-Man knew what he was doing. He was trying to do the right thing because that's what he was trying to do. Whether people didn't like it or not, but he tried his best to do it. And Jonah Jameson, every time writes an article about him, complaining about him, criticizing him. And thus, no matter what he does, Spider-Man always landed on top and became very popular among the city. Whether Jonah Jameson criticizes it or not, Spider-Man knew what he was doing. He didn't give a shit about what Jonah Jameson said. He basically did his own thing and moved forward and kept going. And he became the most popular hero in the city. That's what Spider-Man was. That's what happened to Diversity in Comics. He did his own thing. Did it his own way. even if you try to spread the rumors about him, even if you try to say he's a Nazi and all this other stuff, some people are gonna go over there, check him out, and they're gonna find out either he's a good guy or a bad guy, because you're just basically helping spread the word about him by acting this way, getting upset over nothing. You're a professional. You should act professional about this and try to say, look, and this is the problem with the situation, that they're willing to go this far to shut down his business. They're willing to go that far to attack him. And I'm just being nice about this because this is something that's going on. The difference between us and the things we do in an open, this is a list of this is the list for customers to know which stories will not fulfill the order for the book if they want to buy. This is something that Bruno Bautista got upset, and this is the guy who owns Big Bang comic books. He's getting upset with him, and he's willing to cut him off from not having his book being distributed or sold at his comic book shop, which is fine because it's just one comic shop, maybe two, maybe three, but the thing is, you know, this is a sad story. A lot of these comic shops are virtue signaling about this. Some, not all. They don't care about the drama that's going on. Because, let's face it, Pervert was a shitty-ass comic book to begin with. And I'm being brutally honest about it. I'm sure that it's a great art studio book. I'm sure that it could probably sell well with, you know, the art gallery crowd that would pay millions and millions of dollars that are rich snobs and everything. But I don't know. I'm not saying it's shit. It turns into a shit show after all, because this is something that needs to be addressed. You know, we are choosing not to stock the up-and-coming Arctic Press comic Jawbreakers. Jawbreakers Lost Souls campaign will remain online until the book is completed in July. I want customers to be able to buy the things they want. And this is something that I'm just going to be nice about this. Because you can do whatever the hell you want, but it doesn't stop people from buying Jawbreakers. Because, let's face it, I could go to Amazon, Amazon.com, which I actually ordered a comic book. Let me, yeah, I do, yeah, I do buy, yeah, I'm looking into these games right now. Yeah, and of course, yes, and some RPG stuff. Now, I could go to, let me see if I can look it up. For example, let's see. This is what I bought for a couple bucks. Which wasn't that bad though. I bought it for a couple of bucks on in the comic book scene. Now, for those who don't know, this was a comic book by Arctic Press a long time ago, written by, created by Ben Dunn, who was one of the founders of Antarctic Press, which I recommend you guys check out because it's a really good series. But it's a shame that it died down during the 2000s because it didn't get that very popular, to be honest with you. the guy did like an anime of it, and I remember looking at it. And it was so cool though. He actually tried to. He spent money on this. No joke. Now he actually did this, and this is the short opening of the anime that they did. No joke. You guys got to check this out. Oh man, let me go ahead and reload this. That sucks. All right, I'm gonna try this again with the other one because this is the opening. Oh, what the hell's going on? Because this is something that I thought was pretty cool though. Now, I'm going to try again, see if this works. Because this was an interesting opening that Warrior Nun, because this is by Arctic Press. Because I thought it was a really cool story. And right now, you know, oh, what the fuck? I'm having a problem here. I'm having some decoder problems. I'm going to have to try again. See if that works. I'm going to have to close this. Because I thought this was pretty cool. Because Arctic Press used to be known for their comic books. And it's sort of funny too, because they've been known to do this. This is their... Oh, shit. I'll show you. Because Ben Dunn had been known to make this series. And he used to be very popular in Texas. He made an animated short film for it to promote the show, but unfortunately it didn't get that very popular. But of course, here's what happens next. He tried to make a live action movie because one of the creators, Ben Dunn made this comic book a while back, and it inspired like a big deal because the guy is trying to make a B film for this, because this was in 1993. Warrior Nun was released quickly and found a cult audience. Ben Dunn's graphic novel, published over 100 issues, earned a relationship of 1 million and translated into 5 languages: Japanese and Chinese and French, German, Italian. And Undergo the Classic was born. Producer Dean Inglis approached Ben and adapting a graphic novel into a film, and upon hearing about their ideas and calibre of assembling a team, Ben gave his blessing. Warrior Nun is now one step closer to being the big screen glory, which is going to be a B movie, to be honest with you guys. Because the guy who made this, because you have to understand, I thought it was pretty interesting, but I don't know if the project was canceled, because I saw this short film. I thought it was pretty good, because it was a really short film. The person who made this did an okay job, and I thought it was pretty cool for a B movie, because this was a test that they did, and I kind of really liked it. But at the same time, you know, I would show you guys the video, but I'm having technical issues with my computer. It's been bugging out lately. As you can see, I'm going to show you guys. You can see right here, there's this playback issue that it's pissing me off. Video is unavailable, or something went wrong. Tap retry. An error occurred. Yeah, I'm gonna have to restart the browser. And see what's going on, because this is ridiculous. Yeah, because this does happen a lot. Yeah, because Warrior Nun Aurelia is pretty cool though. And I'm sorry that I'm having technical issues here. This is Warrior Nun Aurelia. Yeah, I'm having a technical issue here. Hold on, because I usually like this one. This is pretty weird though. Oh man, I'm having audio issues right now. I don't know what's going on, other than the fact that the desktop's not playing the sound or anything like that. This is Warrior Nun. This is what this is what they did back in the 80s, and I thought it was pretty cool though. Now, I'm sorry that I can't really play it right now because this is the comic book Ben Dunn did. I thought it was pretty cool though, because he did an animated short opening that could have happened, but it didn't happen for him because it was sort of like the animation was pretty good back in the days when he asked a guy to help him out with this animation. Because they had a studio in Texas that did animation, and this is what they did. I thought it was pretty cool, though. Because I wonder why Ben Dunn stopped making this comic book. I know that he was getting old and everything, but Jesus Christ, man. Come back with that Warrior Nun stuff. Come on, reprint the whole thing. Get people to to buy this comic book. Illustrated by Richard Dominguez. MySpace, Mr. Mask Credo. And I felt bad because this was a really good series that that should have been known for by Arctic Press, because this was a really this got very popular during the 90s, and I wonder if he would ever consider doing this. Yeah, and there was also the fact that there was, because this is by Antarctic Press, mind you. They did a lot of things back in the 90s, and then they died out with a lot of their comic books. Because I would love to see, because I would love to see an anime of Warrior Nun Aurelia, because it was sort of funny though, because she dresses up as a nun fighting evil, but unfortunately, you know, it became controversial during the 90s, because this is a very rare story that was in San Antonio. For those who don't know, I lived in San Antonio most of my life. And during the 90s, I moved back to San Antonio because my family really loved that place. My mom is currently living there in San Antonio because we used to live like far out in Kirby, Texas. Mind you, we always go to the military base and read comic books. That's what I always did because it was like the library over there. But I know they hated us kids reading their comic books for free because it isn't a library. And I remember reading those comic books a lot when I was a kid, and I bought like Ninja High School constantly. It was like that was one of the books I read as a kid when I first got into reading. Like I got into reading comics a lot more when I was older, like especially during the 80s, especially the X-Men. I remember the Circle. I remember reading that one when I was like 10 or 11 or 9. Great times. Let me see. Chesty Shed Chess. Yeah, that didn't really work out very well because I know that Antarctic Press made this comic book. It was short-lived. It wasn't really like that very popular, but I hope if you want to, you could go to you can buy Chesty Sanchez. It was like the early 90s. Chesty Sanchez. Yeah, that's like one of the comic books that got popular. Now let me see. Glory. Let me see if I can remember. I know Warrior Nun was very popular because I remembered this comic book. If anybody wants to buy the comic book series, I recommend you check out Warrior Nun. It's a very popular. It's a very popular book series by Antarctic Press, because if anything, you should really buy this anywhere. Go to Amazon, and I recommend this story because this is a really good comic book. Warrior Nun, Aurelia, if I can pronounce her name right, because this was a very popular comic book series during the time, during the early 90s, of when indie comics became a very big deal back then. And it's a shame that, looking back at it, just go buy it. I recommend you check it out because it is hilariously, even though it's not like the best storyline, it was done by Ben Dunham, and he basically made the comic book series popular with his manga style type of comic book. Especially when he attempted the series with himself, because you can tell he put a lot of work and desire into this comic book. And I remember that they did do somewhat of an animated thing for it, because it didn't happen. Although I thought it was hilarious because this is a funny ass series. Because the point is she's like a demon slayer. She became like this warrior nun that they're trying to go after her. She's cursed, and she is going after every evil being that's trying to destroy her. Thus she became the warrior nun. And I thought it was a really good story. And already I'm buying like the volume books so I can read the storyline. Even though it wasn't like the best story because you have to understand, this is the 90s, and the manga style for it was kind of interesting because Ben Dunn had done both Ninja High School and Warrior Nun, and both became like their biggest sellers, especially Gold Digger. Gold Digger was another one that was done by Fred Perry. And a lot of people who don't know Fred Perry, he was an African American. And I think most people need to realize Fred he's like the writer and creator. And a lot of people who don't know him, he had done a lot of comic books. Like, no joke, he had done comic books like Gold Digger. He had done comic books and the Zombies Before After, Last Zombies, Time Lincoln, Tiffany. Like, the guy is a veteran. And I remembered him doing Gold Digger. Like, he did Gold Digger. Now I'm going to show you what he did. Like, this is Gold Digger. This is one of their bigger sellers. Let me see if I can find it. Bigger cover. This is Gold Digger, with the furries and everything. This was one of the very popular comic books ever sold. And also the fact that he made an animated movie out of it. No joke, he did. And I'm going to show you the animated, this is what they did. Like, no joke, this guy made an animated movie. Like, the guy made an animated movie of Gold Diggers, and they attempted this a while back. This was one of those little films that you just can't help but laugh at because, of course, Gold Digger's time wrap was kind of interesting. Now, you can see that it wasn't well animated in a way, but they attempted it because at least Fred Perry did something. He made his own little OVA series that was very short, but it wasn't that bad either. And I thought it was an interesting concept and everything, especially when he tried to attempt to make art for it. I don't blame him. He did his own art, made his own comic book and did it on his own. You know, I have much more respect for Fred Perry than any of the motherfuckers out there that do comic books, because he actually attempted it. Same with Redfield. He attempted his own show too. Ryan Redfield did a comic book. Like, I know. See if I can remember. Because I know that Gold Diggers attempted this. Because the fact that, you know, Arctic Press has attempted things in the past. They have done animated cartoon shows. They have done a lot of things. Now, you can tell that they try to do, like, because this series basically makes fun of, like, a lot of things, like Magical Girls, Mecha, all this other stuff that they do. Like, no joke, it was sort of a funny ass series that you couldn't help but laugh at, and I thought it was pretty hilarious because there is a DVD out there. Trust me, it is hard to find that DVD, and I wish Fred Perry could possibly make billions of copies, because I would ask Fred Perry, hey Fred, can you make a copy of that anime DVD so that we can rewatch it? Because I would love to see the series again, because I remember my friends ordered this. No joke, they ordered this and they watched it. And I thought it was a pretty interesting series, because this is one of those animated series that you just couldn't help but laugh at. I can't blame them. This was an animated series that that got very popular in the times I remembered. It was sort of the one of those animes you can't help but laugh at. And also, I mean, one of those comics you can't help but laugh at, because it's sort of, because this is what Antarctic Press published it back in the days. Gold Digger, Warrior Nun Aurelia, that's what they were best known for. They were known for their original comic books, especially Ninja High School. Ninja High School is another one that I remembered that they did. Ninja High School is another comic book series that they did. And I remember reading the comic books. This is especially when he did the Kickstarter for this. I know Ben Dunn created it independently, but he wanted to make it happen. And it was like one of the bigger popular series out of a bunch that I thought it was pretty cool, though, because especially his manga style that he does wasn't like the biggest, you know, story ever, but he attempted it and did it. Now, the art wasn't that great, but he did it anyways. And you can tell, you know, this is what he did. And I thought it was pretty cool, though, because he made this series back in the days, and you can tell he did Alpha and everything. And the comic book was reprinted and redone and everything. He does like parodies of other animes, and that's what everyone liked about him, because he makes fun of it. And a lot of people respect his art style and everything, because you have to understand, back in the days, this was done for, and he did a lot of work on it. Like, he did the parody of Ranma 1/2 and everything. I thought it was a really cool, you know, like, he did parodies of Ranma 1/2. He did parodies of old animes in Ninja High School. Like, I would love to buy the textbook for this, of Ninja High School Volume 1 Class Reunion. I would love to read this. But as you can see, that book is $100 something. for paperback. It is a very rare book, and I would love to read that book. Let me see if I can find it, because that is, and their art style has been recommended by a lot of artists, because he actually does tutorial modes to teach people how to draw manga. And it's sort of interesting though, because I thought it was really cool. Let me see if I can find it. Ninja High School, yeah, which is available on Kindle, by the way, if you want to read Ninja High School version 2.0. I thought you might just like it. Anyways, guys, I'm done talking about this, because I really like Arctic Press and everything. Because yeah, you can tell I'm a big fan of Arctic Press. Because I bought their comics since I was a kid. I bought Ninja High School, but unfortunately, I didn't. I regretted, giving away those comic books, because I couldn't find any of my collection anymore. I lost all my stuff because I moved to a new state, and I thought that state was going to provide me a job. Turns out they didn't give a shit. So, anyways, guys, I gotta go. Leave your comments down below. Tell me what you think. I gotta go. Bye-bye. Because I really want to, I gotta go and do some stuff.